What's going on, guys? Welcome to Sonic Sounds, and today we are going to talk about Realphones by dSONIQ. Now, this is a plugin that lets you mimic a bunch of awesome listening, referencing, and music enjoyment places without having to buy additional gear. You can use your existing headphones. Now, this is different than the Slate VSX, where you have to buy their own headphones, or some of the Waves plugins where you need a camera, and there's a really gimmicky like head tracking software, which I'm not sure really works great or not. But for now, I returned my Slate VSX headphones, and I got this plugin, and I've been using it with my DT770s, and I really like it. So let's jump into the plugin and see what it is, and let's talk about whether it's worth the $179 or not. For the highest level, there are cheaper versions of the plugin available with just fewer headphone profiles. So let's jump into it. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm working on this particular beat right here. And what I did is I did my basic mixing, and then I loaded up Realphones to do a mix. Now I already have an instance where I have my favorite settings, but I wanted to load up the plugin as an empty slate, and this is what the plugin loads up with. So let me walk you through the workflow of the plugin, and then we'll go and listen to some of the magic that this plugin is doing. And this density knob is my favorite for the bass response check. I think it's amazing. So let's go and see this preset folder first here. So the presets start off with the default. This is what you want to choose, or the optimized correction if you don't know what you want to choose, or you have options for enjoying the music, real control rooms if you want to check the mix in some extreme environments for your mid tones, and as well as you want to just check your mix like a next door, a portable device, earbuds, or you want a completely clean frequency response, optimized correction, full correction with no kind of spatial processing. Now they do a lot of spatial processing where psychoacoustics are involved, and you can really hear the reflections of that particular environment or that particular space would create, and that helps you make a better decision, a more accurate decision on how your mix would translate. So let's go and choose a mixing basic optimized correction standard width. Here you can choose your headphones, and if you have one of the headphones that is not supported by them, just choose the studio closed and open. I happen to have the DT770s. What I'm going to do is get the studio enclosed profile loaded up, so everyone that's listening to this can choose their headphones, their closed headphones, and really feel a bit of what I'm going to feel when we go through this tutorial. All right, so then you have the correction right here. You can choose how much correction you want to happen. Again, how much presence and how much pressure you want to engage as well. Now the presence is, again, you want to find what's most accurate for you without any kind of minimum resonances, and also for the pressure, it's basically the correct frequency depending on the wear of your headphones. So how you wear them, super tight, super loose, and you can really fix it based on that. Once you get down here, you get to choose what you're monitoring on, whether it's the near, mid, or the far fields. Here the far fields are selected by themselves, and how much ambience you want the room to come in with. Now again, the more you do it, the more intense the room sounds are going to be. So again, let's just load up the basic, and what that loads up at is 67%. And then we have the speaker width here. Again, in a general studio, you're always 60 degrees isosceles triangle from the listening space, so 60 degrees. But again, if you want to go extreme, you can definitely do that as well. I always like going back to the basic one. And then you have a natural timbral kind of processing right here of the high frequencies. So again, this loads up at 75. Then again, when you go down here, you can choose the speaker type, which you want to monitor on, whether it's the room speakers, or you can change it to a bunch of different speakers. For example, you have some wireless buds here, some wire buds here, as well as the American 425 cubes. Now these are probably Oratones, and you can see when you change the full frequency, it really will tell you whether you're good in the mid frequencies or not. So let's go again, room speakers, and we will load those up right here. And then you have a corrective EQ for your tone controls, your lows, your mids, and your highs. You can take the snapshots of everything up here. You can hear your mid sides, the left and the right side, stereo to mono, left and right swap, and you have your EQ curves right here. If you click here, you can see the correction room or the simulation itself, and then you have a limiter right here because you are adding this as the last plugin on your chain. So you want to make sure you bypass this before you bounce the mix as well, and then you have compensation for anything that's going to go over 0 because this is introducing additional frequencies. And you can also use this plugin system wide as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. And then you have the output control. So let's go and load up a basing optimized correction, and we're going to use a General Studio generic headphones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bypass this and play a loop, and then what I'll do is I will unable the plugin. So let's go and listen to that. All right, let's go and enable a generic studio headphone with correction profile. Now you can already tell that you're hearing different things. Now just to get a drastic change, let's go and open up a moderate enhancement for enjoying music. You can tell that let's see what it's doing when you go to the correction. So it's boosting the low end, kind of doing this, and boosting the high end a little bit. Let's go for strong enhancement and see what it's doing. You can see the curve changed a little bit, and let's go for the optimized mixing standard width. You can see the curves are changing as well. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go to the mix sub and see the extreme sub and see how that changes. Now this is my favorite knob. It really makes you feel like you're in the room and listening to the bass. Listen to it. If you're on headphones, just grab them, and I'm going to slowly increase this. Super dope, and I can really see myself using this. Now let's go and listen to the mix on a really lo-fi set and see what that's going to sound like. Now you can see there's no low end, there's barely any high end, and there's all kind of boosting going on right here between like 4 to 5K. So this is going to sound very different. But again, this is when you can tell if your mix is going to translate well or not. So let's listen to this. Now you can tell this guitar has a funky frequency, so what I can do is go and listen to this and see if it's really poking out of here and I can fix it or not. Now, I smoothed that out a little bit. Again, just let's do a subtle change, 3 dB, see what kind of a difference it makes. It already, I wasn't really able to tell that until it was unmasked right here. So let's go and bypass the plugin, and we'll unsolo everything and play everything and see what this EQ was doing before and after. So again, everything is bypassed right now. Let's mute the EQ. This is what it was before. Enable the plugin. Now this is super cool because we were able to uncover an area of the mix that was cutting through a bit too sharply, and even bypassing this and reducing this by 3 dB right here, it's already sounding much more pleasant. Let's hear it again. Again, Realphones is bypassed, but we were able to do this correction after hearing a problem in the mix. Super dope. So again, this is where the mix check is super helpful. So now let's go back to our optimized room correction speaker width, and I want to show you something else. I want to show you the left and the right. Now get your headphones on because this is gonna be super dope. So I'm gonna solo the left channel just by itself, but you should still hear things on your right channel. Now this is super cool. It's almost as if it's coming out of the left channel, but you're still hearing reverberation going around and hearing around the room in your ears. Again, let's listen to it again. Both ears. This is normal. Now this almost makes you feel like you're in the room. So again, let's do this, and then I'm going to toggle between these big speakers. Now what's super cool is I can actually tell whether it's the mid, the near fields, or the far fields on the wall, and you can spatially tell that difference just by doing this toggle. But when you have everything on, when you're hearing those reverbs, when you're toggling through these speakers, you're able to make a better judgment on what the mix is going to translate to in real life environment, in other listening places. So I definitely like what I'm hearing. Let's listen to this mix on like an earbud simulation. Now, this seems like it's going to translate really well on consumer headphones, which is always a great thing, right? Let's go back to a realistic room and see what this sounds like. Now again, let's go back to that guitar and undo the EQ that we did in this room to see if it actually translates in this room as well. So let's unmute it. Again, this EQ pretty much took a very harsh part of the mix, and it basically told us to correct it, and we were able to pull this back just 3 dBs, and it makes all the difference on how the song overall sounds more rounded versus more pokey on that high mid end. And you can tell your clap, your high-end instruments, your hi-hat has more room to breathe just by us cutting that down. So, you know, I'm a fan. I can definitely see this in addition to my SonarWorks reference that I use to just cross-check mix. So that was Realphones by dSONIQ. As you can tell, this plugin was $179, but it provides so much more utility than some of the other alternatives. And the great thing is you don't need to buy another pair of headphones. You can choose any kind of closed or open back headphones that they support. You probably are owning one of those if you're watching this video. And they have a very, very gracious 40-day trial period. So you can go and get the demo, choose the headphones that you have, try it out for 40 days, and if you like it, it's only $180 versus $400 or $500 for some of the other plugins. So once again, this is Realphones by dSONIQ. And as usual, if you have any questions, leave them in the description below. I'll try and answer them. While you're at it, if you like the content, make sure you share and subscribe and hit that like button. I'll see you at the next one.